For a century, we've seen them as the undisputed kings of the ocean, a single magnificent species of apex predator. But what if I told you that the orca hunting this seal and the orca eating this fish are so different they might not even be the same species? For 100 years, a shocking genetic secret has been hiding in plain sight, and it's changing everything we thought we knew about the killer whale. For as long as most of us have been alive, the killer whale has been a symbol of the ocean's power and intelligence. They're one of the most widely distributed mammals on Earth, found in every single ocean. We've always called them a single species, Orcinus orca, a creature so adaptable it can thrive everywhere from the icy waters of the Arctic to the warm currents of the equator. Their black and white pattern is iconic, their intelligence is legendary, and their position at the very top of the food chain is undisputed. We've marveled at their complex social lives and their incredible hunting skills, from washing seals off ice floes to creating waves to knock fish into their mouths. They're the largest member of the dolphin family, and their name, killer whale, was actually a mistranslation by ancient sailors who called them whale killers after seeing them hunt animals much larger than themselves. The common understanding was simple. These were all just different groups of the same highly successful animal, showing different behaviors based on where they lived. It was a neat and tidy story, but it turns out the ocean was keeping a secret that would completely flip that picture on its head. The first cracks in this single-species story started showing up decades ago, right in the well-studied waters of the Pacific Northwest. Scientists noticed something strange. There weren't just one, but two very different kinds of killer whales living in the exact same area. They named them residents and transients, and the more they watched, the weirder it got. First, their diet. It was bafflingly specific. The residents would eat fish, mostly Chinook salmon. The transients, now usually called Biggs killer whales, would hunt marine mammals like seals, sea lions, and even other whales. This wasn't just a preference, it was a rigid, unchangeable rule. A starving resident orca would swim right past a seal, and a Biggs killer whale would ignore a school of salmon. They were living in the same kitchen but eating from entirely different menus. Then there was their social life. Resident orcas live in large, stable family groups led by mothers and grandmothers, sometimes sticking together for their entire lives. Biggs killer whales, on the other hand, travel in smaller, more flexible groups. And maybe most telling of all, their voices. The two groups speak completely different languages. Their vocal calls, clicks, and whistles are so distinct that they're acoustically unrecognizable to one another. Imagine two cultures living side by side for thousands of years but never being able to communicate. That was the final, profound clue. Despite sharing the same coastal waters, sometimes passing within a few hundred feet of each other, these two groups actively avoid one another. They don't fight, they don't hang out. And critically, scientists discovered they never interbreed. This wasn't just a cultural divide. This was something much, much deeper. For decades, it was a puzzle that just didn't make sense in a single-species world. Why would two groups of the same animal act like they were from different planets? The answer to this mystery finally came from a place you can't see with a camera: their DNA. Thanks to advanced genomic sequencing, scientists could finally look deep into the evolutionary history of these animals. And what they found was stunning. A team of researchers led by Noé Fisheries analyzed the genomes of these two groups and came to a groundbreaking conclusion. The fish-eating residents and the mammal-eating Biggs killer whales hadn't just been separated for a little while. They had been on separate evolutionary paths for an immense amount of time. The genetic data suggested the two groups may have diverged more than 300,000 years ago. To put that in perspective, modern humans, Homo sapiens, have only been around for about that long. This wasn't like two different populations of the same animal. This was an evolutionary chasm as deep as the one that separates polar bears from brown bears. As one scientist put it, they are the most different killer whales in the world, and they live right next to each other. The weight of evidence was becoming overwhelming. They have subtle physical differences in the shape of their dorsal fins and saddle patches. They have different jaw structures, physically adapted over millennia for their specific prey. They have different cultures, different languages, and now we knew they had profoundly different genetics. So in March of 2024, a landmark scientific paper was published that formally recommended that resident and Biggs killer whales be recognized as two entirely separate species. The proposed new names? Orcinus ater for the residents and Orcinus rectipinus for the Biggs killer whales. The single monolithic idea of Orcinus orca was beginning to shatter. It seemed we hadn't been looking at one species for 100 years. We'd been looking at two, and we were only just beginning to see them clearly. Okay, so they might be different species. Why does that matter so much? The answer is at the heart of one of the most urgent conservation crises in our oceans today. As long as we saw all killer whales as one species, their global population numbers seemed pretty stable. But this big picture view was dangerously misleading. It was masking a silent extinction. When we start looking at these groups as the distinct animals they are, a terrifying picture emerges for one of them, the southern resident killer whales. This specific population of fish-eating orcas, which live along the west coast of North America, is critically endangered. As of the July 2025 census, there were only 74 individuals left in the world. Their population has been hovering at this dangerously low number for years, with a constant struggle for survival defining their existence. The reason for their decline is directly tied to who they are. Southern residents are salmon specialists. Their main food source is Chinook salmon, but those salmon populations have been decimated by overfishing, pollution, and the damming of rivers. For these orcas, no salmon means no food. Period. They're starving. Add to that the constant disruption from vessel noise, which messes with their ability to hunt by echolocation, and you have a species being pushed to the brink. Meanwhile, the Biggs killer whale populations in the same waters are generally doing well because their food sources, seals and sea lions, are abundant. By lumping these two different animals together under the single name killer whale, we were failing to see the emergency. A conservation plan for a killer whale is useless. You can't save the southern residents by protecting seals. You can only save them by restoring salmon, cleaning up their habitat, and giving them the quiet waters they need to hunt. This discovery isn't just a scientific reclassification, it's a life or death diagnosis. It forces us to see these animals for who they truly are and to create targeted conservation plans that might be their last hope. Of course, science is a meticulous process. In the summer of 2024, the Society for Marine Mammalogy's Taxonomy Committee reviewed the proposal to split the species. In a decision that surprised many experts, the vote to formally recognize them as separate species fell just short of the two-thirds majority required. However, the committee did officially recognize them as distinct subspecies, a major step forward. For now, they are provisionally designated as Orcinus orca ater for the residents and Orcinus orca rectipinus for the Biggs. It's a formal acknowledgement of their deep differences, and many scientists believe it's only a matter of time before full species status is accepted, pending more global analysis. And this story is likely just the beginning. Scientists currently recognize at least 10 distinct ecotypes of killer whales around the world. And some research suggests there could be as many as 23. There are offshore orcas that hunt sharks and different types in Antarctica with unique color patterns that prey on different species. Each of these could be its own branch on the killer whale family tree, with unique genetics and culture. The single species Orcinus orca may eventually be seen as the ancestor of a whole family of distinct species that have conquered the world's oceans in their own unique ways. We thought we knew the king of the ocean, but we're just now realizing we're being introduced to the entire royal court. For 100 years, our understanding of the killer whale was powerful, but incomplete. We saw a single, adaptable predator. Now, we see a far more complex and beautiful truth. The animal we call the killer whale is not one, but many. They are a family of distinct peoples, with separate histories, languages, and destinies etched into their DNA. This revelation isn't just an update to a textbook, it's a fundamental shift in how we see them. It shows us that even the most familiar animals on our planet can still hold profound secrets. And it's an urgent reminder that to protect a species, we first have to truly understand it. The fight to save the southern resident killer whales is now a fight to save a unique and irreplaceable piece of life on Earth. A fight we couldn't even properly define until now. The journey of scientific discovery is endless, And sometimes the biggest breakthroughs are the ones that force us to admit we were wrong for so long.